Hello, Pokemon trainers! Welcome back to another Pokemon Sun and Moon Battle Spot singles battle on iStarly TV. I'm doing something that I haven't done in a little while, which is I am doing the 1080p really high quality battles with no outlines. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. I'm also trying a new Pokemon, which is Mega Pidgeot. And a little bit of backstory here. This is actually really funny and embarrassing, but I found out after doing these battles that my Mega Pidgeot actually does not have any EVs in it at all. And so I have since fixed that, so I'll probably be doing another spotlight on Mega Pidgeot very soon, so we can kind of see how it's really supposed to work in action. But for right now, unfortunately in this battle, it's really awkward. Mega Pidgeot doesn't have full EVs, but we'll see how the battle turns out. It should still be very interesting. I'm also using Nidoking and Porygon 2, which are two very unique and interesting Pokemon, so we'll see how that turns out. Alright, so there's the beautiful quality again. And my opponent leads with their Greninja. I led with my Porygon 2 because I felt like it had a good matchup against everything on my opponent's team. This is actually more of an offensive Porygon 2. It still has a lot of bulk with Eviolite, but it has download and a modest nature. I was hoping to get the special attack boost here from the download, but unfortunately I do just get the attack boost, which is not going to do anything in this situation because I am a special attacker. And my opponent gets off the Toxic here, and I figured that that was okay because Porygon 2 is very bulky. I mean, when I saw them leading with Greninja, I was actually really happy because Porygon 2 can take on Greninja really easily, and so I was like, cool. But then, of course, they showed Toxic, which is probably the best thing you can do to Porygon 2, and then I'm going to go for the Tri-Attack there. That's still going to do a lot of damage, even though I did not get the special attack boost. Had I gotten the special attack boost, that probably almost would have killed, but luckily for me, I also get the freeze, which is very unfortunate for my opponent, but there is a 30% chance, actually lower than a 30% chance. And I'm just going to be able to finish them off with a second Tri-Attack while still taking some notable damage from the Toxic. So I did recognize that Porygon 2 is going to be important in this battle, as it always is. I mean, Porygon 2 is just amazing. So I was worried about what I should do. My opponent goes into Sharpedo, and I was a little worried here because I thought to myself, I can't really switch into Sharpedo, and I figured my opponent was going to go for Protect. That was a prediction play on my part. I probably should have gone for Recover there. Even though I haven't taken that much damage yet, Recover would have allowed me to get back up to full health. And then, I mean, since I didn't do anything to my opponent anyway, since they're protected, I might as well have gone for Recover. But I didn't. I went for Thunderbolt and I missed the turn there. And here I was wondering if my opponent would switch out or not. I think I still go for the Thunderbolt though, just to play it safe, which of course, as you can see, is gonna be really bad for me because they go into Hippowdon, who can eat that up very easily. And to top it all off, now my opponent has gotten up the Sandstorm. So I'm taking poison damage, I'm taking sandstorm damage. This is just absolutely terrible for my young Porygon 2. So of course, realizing that there's really nothing I can do in this situation, I'm just going to switch out into my Pidgeot. And this is where we kind of get to see it in action. We get to see it in action, but again, given that I didn't invest in its stats very awkwardly, we're not going to be doing that much damage. My opponent gets up the Stealth Rock. That's going to be a little bit important later on, but for right now, that is okay because I'm going to be able to just Mega Evolve, which is of course what I want to be doing. And I do have Hidden Power Ice on this, but I figured I'm just going to spam Hurricane because that's going to do more damage than Hidden Power Ice anyway, and because there's a chance that I could confuse them with Hurricane. So I go for the Hurricane. As you can see, it does an okay amount, but if I had the investment, that probably would have, well, it would have easily been a 2-hit KO. But hindsight is 20/20. In the future, we'll get better at remembering to EV Train. The reason for that was because, well, my opponent goes for Yawn there, which is annoying, but I transferred 2 Pidgeots from Omega Ruby version because I bred them on there, and then I taught them the Move Tutor move, Heat Wave, which is exclusive to Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. And so I wanted them to have Heat Wave on Sun and Moon, and so I had to do that. And I leveled them up on Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire because it's easier to level them on that game. and I just completely forgot to even give them any EVs. So here I go for Hurricane again, and my opponent's Citrus Berry activates. Again, Hippowdon's just really annoying, but on the plus side for me, my opponent does use Roar there. They don't go for the Yawn, so it's kind of good that they used Roar because it means that I'm not going to fall asleep. And here I get the special attack boost. Unfortunately though, I'm going to have to go for Recover. Given that I saw Sharpedo, I thought to myself that if I want to win this fight, I'm going to have to deal with Sharpedo, and Porygon is the best thing I have to deal with that threat. So I'm going to have to make sure my Porygon has good health, even though we're in Sandstorm, even though I'm poisoned, and even though my opponent has gotten up Stealth Rock. But here my opponent actually goes for Roar, which is again very good for me because it means that I'm able to recover off some health, and then that's just going to switch me out of here. And here they finally roar me into the thing that I've wanted to be roared into, which is Nidoking, because Nidoking's going to deal a lot of damage to my opponent's team. They only have 2 Pokemon left, both of which are fairly weakened. Well, actually, Sharpedo's not weakened yet, but I just went for Earth Power here, and that ends up being a mistake on my part. I went for Earth Power because I thought that if my opponent decided to switch into Sharpedo, Earth Power could hit both Hippowdon and Sharpedo for decent damage, so that ended up being a pretty big mistake. I'm trying to play it pretty safe here, but at the same time, I probably should have thought ahead and said, well, let's just take the risk and go for Ice Beam. This is going to give me an opportunity to go into Pidgeot though, which of course I'm going to take rocks damage, but now I'm going to be able to go for the Hurricane, and my opponent has to stay in and die, so that's kind of nice. And that means that it's down to my opponent's Sharpedo. I have my Pidgeot and my Porygon. My opponent has Sharpedo. Sharpedo's really annoying just because of speed boost. It can hit decently hard, but it's also extremely frail. So we're going to see here. My opponent goes for Protect, and I actually have Tailwind on my Pidgeot, and I make that prediction, and I go for Tailwind here, expecting my opponent to go for Protect to get the speed boost. I go for Tailwind, which is going to boost my speed even more, which means that even after this speed boost on my opponent's part, I'm still going to be faster. So that was actually a play that I'm very proud of, and that was a great play on my part. I actually had a similar play earlier in the day against a Blaziken, where the same thing happened. They went for Protect, I went for Tailwind, and then I outsped them and killed them with Hurricane. So pretty good stuff there. Mega Pidgeot usually wants to run Hurricane, Heat Wave, and then Hidden Power. And then the last move, it can be anything from Tailwind to Roost, Roost, U-Turn, Work Up. You know, there's a lot of different things you could try there. Anyways, I go for the Hurricane. If I had invested in Special Attack, that would have killed. My opponent kills me with the Ice Fang, and Porygon is weak. It's around half health, but once it switches into rocks, it's going to be even lower, which means my opponent is going to easily be able to take me out with the Crunch. Had they not taken me out with Crunch, I definitely would have won the game with Thunderbolt, but also if they had missed Ice Fang on Pidgeot, which is possible, I would have won. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have gone differently, but the fact of the matter is, if I had invested in the EVs for Pidgeot, I would have won this game, but I still saved the game because I felt like it was a really good one, and it was one that I wanted to show off for Mega Pidgeot. So, again, I'll get better, I'll try again with Pidgeot, and then I'll post another video. But we do have one more just to prevent this one being too short, and this one is not using Pidgeot. It's using the same team, but I didn't bring Pidgeot this time around. I actually brought Aegislash as well as Greninja. So my opponent has a really interesting team here. So let's take a look at this battle. So for this one, as you could see, I led with Nidoking. I felt like Nidoking matched up against my opponent's team really well. Nidoking's actually really awesome just because it has superb coverage and it hits pretty hard with Sheer Force and a Life Orb. So it can really hit almost anything for super effective damage. You just have to be careful with things that are faster. So my opponent leads with Tyranitar. And I was a little worried because I do have Earth Power, which is super effective, but at the same time, Tyranitar has a lot of bulk. Especially in the sand. When Tyranitar is in the sand, its special defense is boosted, which, as you can tell, that matters here. And my opponent's going to go for the Ice Fang. It's not going to do that much damage. I don't know exactly what my opponent's Tyranitar is running, like if they're more offensive, if they're more defensive, but they don't kill me with Ice Fang, although they do a lot of damage. I mean, Nidoking's not supremely bulky or anything, so I guess that you know, isn't a big deal. But anyways, I go into Aegislash knowing that I can take the Ice Fang. I can take any rock move they might have, and if they want to go for a dark type move, I do have the weakness policy, and I'm pretty sure I can live, so that just works out really well for me. Aegislash is another Pokemon that's just so good. And I went for the Flash Cannon because obviously that's going to do a lot of damage to Tyranitar. Unfortunately for me though, my opponent goes into probably Aegislash's worst nightmare, which is Gyarados. Because Mega Gyarados resists both of Aegislash's stab moves. You know, it's a water type, so it resists steel, and then Mega Gyarados is a dark type, so it resists ghost. So here what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to make a really bold play. My other two Pokemon are Greninja and Nidoking. My Greninja has Focus Sash, and it's really frail, so I don't want to switch it in during the Sandstorm. And then my Nidoking, I know that it'll easily die to Gyarados, so I'm just going to stay in and go for the Shadow Ball. I did predict them to go for the Dragon Dance. I just wanted to get off as much damage as possible. Luckily for me, they either are not Mega Gyarados or they just choose not to Mega Evolve here. And that's really going to be fantastic for me because it means that I'm going to be able to take them out by hitting them with the Shadow Ball and then following it up with a Shadow Sneak. And that is going to take out the Gyarados. Even though my Aegislash is at -1 attack because of the Intimidate, I will still be able to finish it off. And Aegislash is just fantastic at this point because I know, given that I'm at near full health, I can take on Tyranitar pretty well with King's Shield, and I can also take on Tapu Lele really well as well. So that play was actually central to me. It really swung the tide of the battle in my favor. And I won't say whether I win or lose here, but that play, by just staying in and being really bold and aggressive and attacking the Gyarados with Aegislash, predicting the Dragon Dance, that was just a super important series of turns. So my opponent goes for Shadow Ball. I just go for the King Shield just to get back in my shield form, which means I'm going to have really high defense, which means I'm very likely going to be able to live a Shadow Ball from Tapu Lele, which is what they go for again. And I do take that fairly well actually, and that is of course going to activate my weakness policy, which is again very important because I did choose to go for the Flash Cannon here. Their last two Pokemon are Tapu Lele and Tyranitar, both of whom are weak to steel, so they just kind of couldn't get out of that one. If they switch into Tyranitar, they're going to take a lot of damage from Flash Cannon. If they stay in, well, Tapu Lele is going to die to Flash Cannon, as you see right here. So now I have a +2 Aegislash at really high health, and my opponent just has a Tyranitar. I also have my Greninja in the back. Greninja is not going to be super threatening against Tyranitar. Tyranitar is going to end up resisting a lot of Greninja's moves, and the only super effective move I have is Water Shuriken, which is not going to do that much because of Sandstorm again. So here, once again, I'm just going to go for the Stance Change, or the King's Shield, just to get back into my defensive form, so I can take hits better, because I'm pretty sure the Tyranitar is faster, and I just figured if they're faster, then, you know, I need to be in shield form so I can take hits, and if I'm faster, then I just outspeed and win anyways. But they do fall for the trap. They go for the Crunch on the King's Shield, which is going to lower their attack, and that is going to be the game. I think my opponent forfeited there, even though all they needed to do was just take the Flash Cannon, but that was the game, and those were two very close games. They were very similar in that they really came down to like a certain sequence of turns, and depending on how I played it out, that determined the fate of the battle. The first one, of course, I ended up losing. The second one, I ended up winning. Very fun stuff. I'm having fun with this team. It's actually doing surprisingly well. I just started over on a new rank, and I started from the very beginning, and I ended up going like 8-1 this evening with this team, which I would say is pretty decent. It really surprised me, and that is with a Mega Pidgeot that has 0 EVs. So now that I've invested in my Pidgeot, I'm going to go for it again. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing more Mega Pidgeot, because again, I want to redeem myself, or let me know if you'd want to see any other Megas. I still haven't done a Mega Mawile showcase, which is something I'm interested in. Also, very soon, we're going to be signing up for the challenge where you can get the Blaziken, Sceptile, and Swamperdite. I'm super excited for those more than anything else. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did enjoy, and let me know in the comments which Pokemon you'd like to use the most. Maybe the Pokemon with the most votes in the comments will get chosen. Again, just please like the video. It really helps us out. We really appreciate seeing a lot of likes on the videos. And also subscribe if you haven't already.